What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this floor. So I've been working on changing the aesthetics of the game because I don't really like how some of the things look, and I just want it to look a little bit more dungeony instead of the way that it looks. Like some of the rooms are pretty good, but just the some of the floors are kind of like really boring looking. Like this is, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just wanted to have some diversity in the floors, and I found this picture online, and I was just trying to recreate it. So I'm going to be removing these walls and replacing them as well. These walls are ugly, but let me just show you what it looks like without these walls and doors and stuff. So this is just a recreation of this picture that I found online, and I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. So that's what we're going to be doing today. This might not even end up in the game. This is just like part of the process of making a game. It's like you try new things and you put it into game, you see how it looks, and then you go back to the drawing board and you do another one or whatever. So making something like this is a little bit of a process. So it's kind of 3 steps, right? You create the object in Blender. I use sculpting to do this. And then after you're done sculpting it, you can paint it. So dark in the crevices and then light in the center of each of the tiles, and it makes it look like a gradient kind of look to it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So this is the final result, but we're just going to save this and we're going to create a new file, and we're just going to do this from scratch. So in a new file, this is Blender 4.3. That's super important because in the sculpting area, all of the brushes are at the bottom now. And I mean, you can still do it in the other version of Blender, but the brushes are all in different spots, and the options are different in the older versions of Blender. So if you're following this, I would definitely recommend using the latest version of Blender. Might not be the latest by the time you watch this, but anyway, so when you start your scene, you have this cube, and if you press tab, you can press 7 on your keyboard and press S and Shift Z to scale this. And we just want to scale this up so that it's bigger. This is going to be the size of your room, so make sure you just make it whatever size you want. And then you can press S and Z, and we just want to scale this down on the Z axis. It doesn't need to have a little bit of thickness, so there's like room for like the crevices, but it doesn't need to be too thick. You don't need to add any geometry to this. You just press 7 on your keyboard, and then you could go right to the sculpting tab and press 7 on your keyboard again because this doesn't stay. So inside of this mode, we're just going to turn on Dynotopo. This basically means like where you're drawing, it will add vertices. If you don't turn this on, it can only move the vertices that are already there. So like if you have no geometry in this, like if we press tab, you can see there's literally no geometry. If you move the vertices that are already there, nothing will happen. So like if you try to run this brush across here, nothing happens because there's no vertices here, so it can't move anything. So Dynotopo will make it so that it adds topology while you're painting or whatever. If you click the drop down, we just want to change the detail size to be like 4 or somewhere around there. Now, if you're using a computer that doesn't have a video card, your computer is probably going to take the L and you won't be able to do this. So you could just download my model from, I'll post it in the description of the video if you want. Again, like I said, this is probably not going to be a final result. This is just something that I did for fun the other day, and I'm going to be probably doing a lot of this. So I figured I'd make videos for it while I'm doing it. So the brush we're going to use is probably clay strips. I forget what I did, to be honest, but I'm going to use clay strips and turn the strength up to full, and then just the radius. If you press F on your keyboard, you can move your mouse or your drawing tool to the left, and we'll just make this like 11. You can see the radius up in the top left there while you're doing that. And just make sure you're doing this from a top-down view. So like if you drag this over here, you can see that it's adding geometry, and we want to do the opposite. So we'll press Control Z on that and hold Control. And then, yeah, you can make like a brick here and then a brick here, maybe a brick here. This is way too big. So let's just lower the size again. So let's hold F and we'll make this to like 7. And we just want to roughly flesh out where the bricks are going to be. So there's going to be 4 types of bricks. So there'll be a longwise brick like this. Then there can be a small square brick like this. And there could be a large square brick like this. And we'll just try not to line up the edges too perfectly because it's just like a dungeon. And don't worry about this looking good while you're doing this because we're going to completely change it afterwards anyway. So then we could just make a smaller, or maybe make this one longer, and then we'll do a smaller square here. And then this can be another one of these gigantic ones. And we'll just do like this maybe. And then this can just go part way down. Just like this, probably. No, we want all these to line up. So if we could just do like that, that'll be better. And then maybe, because this is already a straight line, we just want to like maybe start here. No. Right here. Yeah, so we could do like that, and then we'll just do a small square here, and then this can connect to the wall. And this doesn't, it doesn't really matter, right? Like it doesn't have to be anything perfect. So let's just do like that maybe, and then we can connect this here, do a small square here, actually make it a little bit over. We do want the squares to be a minimum size because when we use the brush to paint it, it's a lot easier to just do the middle with like a larger brush all at the same time. And we're just trying to do this quickly because if we make a lot of rooms, we don't really want to spend too long sculpting this. So because all of the rooms would have to have different tiles, or else it will look weird when you walk into every single room and it just looks the same. So this is looking pretty good. Let's just do like one like this, maybe. And then we could push this across here. Like that, maybe. Put a square here so they're not all in a straight line. This one can go over like this. Maybe just connect that like that. Put this down like this. Okay, cool. So this is the basis of this, and now we need to refine it. So we're just going to zoom in, which will add a lot more detail. So when you're using Dynatopo, if you have it on relative detail, when you zoom in, it will add more detail than when you're zoomed out. So like if you do this when you're zoomed in, you can see that it has more of an impact. So we're going to zoom in, and we're just going to change the radius to like maybe like 9, I don't know. No, it needs to be bigger. So let's see. By 13. Okay, let's Control Z that and just do it from here. So when you're doing this pass, you need to do it in only smooth strokes. So for the other one, it's okay if you go back and forth on the initial, but like if you go back and forth and you like try to do this, you'll get like all these little bumpy areas, and we don't want that. We just want it to be smooth. So while you're holding Control while you're doing this, and you're just gonna go over the cracks that you already made so that they're flat and they actually have a lot more detail. Now, you don't have to worry about having too much detail because we're going to decimate this at the end. So it's going to get rid of a lot of the geometry. And so while you're doing this part, like if you successfully did the other part and your computer was okay, your computer might, again, it might fail during this. So depending on how much, you could turn down the detail if it's too laggy. But yeah, just like that. Yeah, and by doing it in single strokes, it just makes it like flat. So this doesn't. So if you hold shift, you can smooth out areas. So if you like screw something up really badly, you can use shift to try to like fix it a little bit. Again, don't worry too much about it because we're going to be decimating this. So it won't look like this at the end. All these like jagged edges will disappear, and we'll fix that stuff after. So let's do this. Also in this view, we're getting a lot of light on it, but the material that we're putting on this in Unity has a very, very low smoothness. So the smoothness is what determines how much light reflects off of the cracks. So all these little lines are not going to be as visible inside of the scene because we've turned the smoothness down. So let me just show you. So inside of this, if we click on the floor material, which I think is this one, and the smoothness usually starts a lot more. And you can see all these imperfections in the mesh because of the smoothness being higher. But because it's a rock floor, we don't need any smoothness. So if you turn the smoothness down, all of those imperfections disappear. You can't see them, right? So even though you can see these in Blender because we're using this mode, the solid mode, which purposely shows you all of the imperfections inside of Unity, inside of your game, you won't have that at all. So, oops. I'm just using a mouse for this, by the way. You can get like drawing tablets and stuff that make this a lot easier. If you were trying to do like a more accurate or like higher detail sculpt, then you would want to use probably a drawing brush. I don't really care. It's not meant to be a high definition, high detail game. So yeah, so after you're done something like this, I think this looks pretty good. You could go and zoom in even further and sculpt out details on the walls. So like here, for example, you could try to make this crease more. So just maybe turn down the strength so it's not so much. So you could try to crease this a little bit more so that there's like a ridge around the edges if you really wanted to. A lot of this detail is going to be lost to decimate anyway. So if you do something like that, no, it kind of looks like shit actually. Maybe these just need to be a little bit deeper. I don't know. So just like on the edge, you could like, no, that's ugly. Now you're getting holes in the mesh. Why is it not undoing it? Oh, it's undoing that. Okay. Anyway, okay. So now that we're done this, what you can do is, yeah. So this is actually not that bad. Like the topology is, but it's only kind of bad. It's not really that bad. Could be worse. So what we're gonna do is, if you go back here, we just want to decimate this. So if you go to the wrench on the right, you can add a modifier. It's going to be the decimate modifier, and you could just bring this all the way down to like 0.1. So that's looking pretty good. And see, this just changes like a lot of these ridges. It just makes them into like triangular looking things, but you won't see the triangles in the game because the game we're using no shininess or smoothness. So it will take that away. And then let me just try actually a lower number, 0.05. Now we're getting triangles inside of like these things. Okay, so we messed something up. So let's close out of this for a sec. Let's go back to the sculpting. We missed a detail, an important detail actually. So in the picture, I don't have the picture open anymore, but there's like little lines that were going through each of these. And we can just make those with the same thing. So we can use the same brush. We just need to make it a little bit smaller. So let's do radius 7. And so some of the cracks were looking like, oh, that's not good. Dynatopo is off. If you go into edit mode and you go back, Dynatopo will turn itself off. So if you like press tab to see how many vertices you have, you just need to turn Dynatopo back on before you start sculpting again. But it's way too weak. Just turn the strengthness up to full. The strengthness. And this is still not strong enough. So we want to make single passes, but we want it to go deeper. There's a tool for creasing. Maybe this will be it. And we, again, just turn the strength up. Yeah, this is better for sure. Okay, so this brought it upwards. So you need to make sure you're holding control while you do this, because if you don't, it goes upwards instead of downwards. We just want to make the radius slightly bigger. So let's go with like, is 11 too much? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, holding control is making it go upwards. I see. It's because I was holding control initially. So we want it to go downwards. What's this other one? I forget which one I used. Okay, let's turn that up to full. What's this? Raw sharp? Maybe that's it. No, that's not it. But was it clay strips? I don't think it was clay strips. You know what? Maybe it is clay strips. Let's just try clay strips and see how that looks. Use clay strips for everything. Yeah, so we'll just do something like this. And they don't all have to have cracks in them. Oh, if you zoom in more, by the way, you get a smaller result. So you might need to zoom in while you're doing this. So then we'll get some forks like this, where the middle connects like that. And then we can do like that. And we're going to draw a dark color on these cracks, which is going to make them stand out a little bit more. Yeah, so maybe like that. That's way too big. Yeah, just make sure you're zoomed in. It shouldn't be that big. And yeah, so I mean, I think that's pretty close to what the picture was. So again, we need to go back to the layout because we removed the decimate modifier. We need to decimate it after we put those in. So let's go ahead and decimate it again. And we'll just do 0.1 again. Those seem to be really good. And you can see that actually kind of fixed up some of like the, there's too much geometry. It's like kind of like a low poly game, so it doesn't need to be that. So 10,000 vases is really not that bad for something with detail on it. You would get better performance if you did a drawing, but I tried to draw this and didn't have much success. So if you have like a drawing tablet or something like that, it's just not, I don't think it's that hard to make something similar to this. And it will probably even look maybe like a little bit better, but this is how you can do it with Blender if you just can't draw. So then the next thing you need to do is you need to put a material on it. So mine already has a material, so that's great. But if you don't have a material, you just need to create one and assign it to the object. And then what you can do is you can go into shading, the shading tab at the top here. And we just want to press Shift A and create an image texture. And you connect the image texture to the base color and then click New. And then we're just going to call this floor texture. And then so for these two, the width and the height, if you drag downwards over both of them, you can change them both at the same time. Just change them to 2048, and then you can click New Image. And then what we want to do is if we go to UV Editing tab at the top, on the right side, it should automatically go into edit mode. If you press 7 on your keyboard, you can get a top-down view. Make sure that the whole thing is in your view. You can scroll in and out with your mouse wheel. You just press U on your keyboard and click Project from View Bound. So this will make because this is a perfect square, this will fit this perfectly into our picture that's on the left. And then this is also what we're going to use to paint it. So if we go into, hang on, if we go into texture paint, sorry, I don't know why I brain farted there. So we don't want this to be the default color. So we should have made the image with the default color initially. So let's go back for a second and we're going to delete the floor texture that we made. We'll click New again. We'll just call this floor texture 2. And then in the color, you just need to make this the color, the default color you want it to be. So it can be like just like gray. If you want to change the color inside of Unity, you can apply a tint after the fact. So if you press New here, inside of the game, you can see that mine is actually this coffee looking color because it matches the walls. You can apply a color to this after it comes in. So to just leave it gray. That way, if you have any other type of room that you want to put this floor in, then you can change the color after the fact. So, and all the gradient stuff will apply to it as well. So let's go back to texture paint. And so from a top down view here, we want to get the color that it currently is. So you could do that. So click on the color, click on this little eyedropper and just select somewhere in the middle. And then we want to get a little bit darker so we can fill the crevices with the darker color. So I think the default brush is going to work for this. So let's see. And again, if you can do these in one stroke, it's a lot better. And if you mess up, just press Ctrl Z and try again. We are going to be painting over the squares. So if you screw up really badly or you can't keep your hand still enough to do this, then when you paint over them with the gradient, you could just paint over top of any imperfections. Like right here, for example, it's kind of an imperfection. It's not really noticeable. And again, because the roughness is going to be really high, like it's going to be not smooth at all, the lighting won't reflect off of it. So it'll be hard to see in imperfections anyway. But and this might be even too dark for the cracks. I don't know. If you really mess it up, you can always delete the image from the shading tab and just make a new image and just start over. Okay, so after you've done all the main cracks, you don't want to do these little cracks in between yet, because when you're painting over the tile in the center to change the color, it will affect it, like it will get overwritten by the color that you choose. So we just want to make a brighter color now, and it needs to actually be brighter than these ones. And I think we can use the airbrush for this and just make it. Let's just see how this looks. No, it's too dark. It needs to be lighter than the color. Did that change the color? I'm super confused. That doesn't look like it matches the color at all. Okay, so the left color seems to be the thing. So you can just pick this and then just go up a little bit. Oh, that looks nice. Okay. So we're just gonna change the radius to be a little bit larger. So let's do like 20. And you could just click around on this. Slightly darker, maybe. Oh, sorry, that's lighter. Yeah, slightly lighter. That's what we want. Now we want it to be lighter than the actual brick itself. There you go. So I'm just clicking with my left mouse button. It is kind of laggy on mine, so and make sure you don't run over the edge, because it's very visible if you like when you mess up the cracks. I guess that's not as visible, but when you mess this up, it looks like a lot worse. So okay, so now that we have that kind of done, we just want to go to like a really light color now, and this is just going to be for like the center of these, and maybe that's too much. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, let me just a little bit less, but we still want it to be brighter than the edges. Like it should fade. So you want only the center should be this lighter color, but you want it to just be slightly lighter. So that way it looks like there's like a kind of like a radial gradient on all of these. Oops. Oh, crap. Okay, so that's looking really good. And then we just want to take a dark color now. So all of this is the same shade. We're not changing like the gray color at all. We're just getting like different shades. And then we want to zoom in a lot because we're going to be going over these little cracks now. And then you can hold F to change the radius. And I've changed the radius to 8. So you could also just click it up here if you want. And let's see how this looks. So we don't want to do this with an airbrush. We're just going to do this with Paint Soft, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Paint Soft seems to be good. So let's zoom out. Okay, so we just want to turn this down just a little bit so it blends a little bit better. The goal isn't to like completely change, like it doesn't need to be dark like the deeper cracks, because these edges are really deep, but these are not as deep, so they shouldn't be that much. Just to make them kind of stand out, to be honest. Dude, keep it in the lines. What are you doing? Okay, so this is pretty much the end result of the model. So before you close this, I don't know if Blender still does this or not, but if you don't save the image and you close out of this, you'll lose the image. So make sure you save it. The crevices probably shouldn't have been this dark, and we might have ran over this with the smooth tool before putting it into this. So like if you're inside of the sculpting area, you can turn on material preview maybe. And so you see all of these like jagged little areas. If you zoom in and you make your brush just a little bit bigger and you hold shift, with Dynatopo on, you could probably smooth this out so it's a lot smoother. Or you could, if you go into the layout mode and you go into tab, you could highlight a lot of these that you want to be flatter, and you could scale them on the Z axis. So you could use maybe like the circle select and just press 7 and then select all these. And then you can press SZ0 to flatten them. And so if you wanted a complete, so you see how this completely removes all of these little jagged areas. I'm not going to do that, I don't think, because like I said, you're changing the roughness anyway, but that will remove any of this like jaggedness. If you don't want that, you could remove it just by scaling Z0. So like you could like, let me just do one little area a little bit bigger. So I'll show you. So like you can take all these areas where it would be jagged. Make sure you don't select the sides of the things because that will make them collapse. And you could change the radius of this brush as well. So that's always an option. So SZ0 will flatten these. And so when you're looking at it from a top-down view, you can see there's the grid is over top of it. Hang on. but you can see that this completely removes all of the imperfections in the cracks. Again, I don't want to do that this time, but um, you could technically do that, which would be cool for that. But yeah, anyway, it's an option. I'm just letting you know. I'm not going to do that right now. This is already getting pretty long. So now we need to import this into Unity. All right, so now that we're done making the floor, we need to export it and import it into Unity. So to do this, you could just click File at the top, click Export FBX file, and then just make sure you save it somewhere that you know where it's going to be on your computer. So I'm just going to call mine Floor Tutorial, but you could just call yours whatever you want. And then you could change this from all local to FBX unit scale. If you don't do this, you just have to change the scaling to 100 in Unity when you import it. We'll just get rid of the animation, we'll export it, and then if you open Unity, you can drag this file into your project, wherever you want to put it, and then from there, you can drag this model into your scene. So let's go into the scene view, and we'll find out where this got put. Okay, so it's inside of the floor that's already there. So we're just going to stop the game for now, and I'll delete this one or turn it off anyway. And then we can just drag this floor tutorial here. Yeah, so when you drag this in, it doesn't have material or anything like that. So the size of it looks like it almost perfectly filled the room. You just need to like adjust it just a little bit. So if you click this little locky button here, you can just drag this up just slightly so that it actually fills the room. And then you need to add the material that we made in Blender onto this. So if you go, make sure you save that image from Blender. I don't know if I did or not. Let me just see. Floor one text. Yeah, that's it. So we'll drag that. Oh, no, that's the other one. Maybe I didn't save it. Let's just go back to Blender for a sec. So inside the texture painting tab, if you click on the image, you can click save as, and then just save it somewhere where you'll be able to find it. So I'm going to save mine as floor texture 2. I thought I already saved this. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. So then we can drag that into here. And then we need to create a material using this texture that we made. So if you just right click, you can create a material, and we'll just call this floor material tutorial, and just drag this texture into this little square box to the left of this. And then we'll drag the floor material tutorial right onto it. And you can see that all of those little triangles from in the gaps are very, very visible. So to get rid of this, we just, like I said, we'll just turn the smoothness down. And I'm going to turn the metallic map up just slightly. And to make this match the walls that are here, just change this to a more like tinted color. Now, these gaps that we have in between are way too dark. So if you're following this, you might have to change this. In the other one that I had, I didn't end up with something so dark. So I'll show you the other one again. So the gaps, it's the same thing, but the gaps are just way too dark in the new one that I made. So when you're doing this, just make them lighter so that it's not so obvious. And then the other thing you could do is you could change the color. If you wanted to replicate that image from the beginning, you could change the color to more match the this picture. So that's just like a purpley color. So you would just, I'm going to do it with my actual floor because it turned out a little bit. It's the same exact thing. You can kind of see that it's the same thing, but the gaps, I put way too dark of a black in the gaps, and it just needed to be way lighter. So what we'll do is we'll take this floor material, and so it's like kind of like a purpley gray. So somewhere like here, probably. I don't know. No, it's more of a blue. It's not purple. Yeah, so kind of like that. And you could outline the edges of each of the bricks in like like on the very edge if you want to. It's going to be covered by the wall, so you won't be able to see it, so it's not necessary. But yeah, this is my version of this drawing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be using this in the game, but I've just been making different stuff, and I'm going to be posting videos as I make stuff and test it out in the game. So the entire project is available for download in the description of the video. It's not going to include this because I'm not going to bother uploading the whole project again. It's just from the last video. So if you follow this, you can add this file. I'll upload this model as well, so you can download the model if you want to. This one, I'll upload this one, not this one. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.